In today's lab, we will deploy Cisco ISE integrated with i5 Big IP LTM Load Balancer. As you see the diagram here, we have two ISE in a deployment, and it has interface as a default gateway to the Big IP. In the Big IP, we have an external interface to the outside, external. We have that PC with the AP registered on the controller. The controller is a NAT device. It will send radius request to the virtual server, which is the self IP on the Big IP. The pool has the two nodes of Cisco ISE and will be load balanced to either one of it. Is the deployment in the ISE. The Cisco ISE deployment has two nodes, and they are all in a deployment group, node group, PSN group 1. For some basic config, we added the F5 as F5 Big IP. In here, we have share secret for the F5 to do a health monitor as a NAT. Of course, it has a test user we call F5 probe. The user has his own password to make a test to the ISE. Back to network devices, we also add a controller. For the controller, we add a radius share secret and also the SNMP RO community. We have set up the wireless policy, wireless.x. It is for PEAP. The policy, we use default user group store. If it matches our ISE group, identity group, we will pass the authentication. As the group, we created a group called the ISE group. The group has one user. It is ISE user. And the user is just an internal user. Okay. On the F5, the first thing we'll do is to virtual server for non-load balancing traffic. The first will the PSN IP forwarding inbound. The type will be the IP type forwarding. As an inbound, the source will be ending. The destination will be the internal network for the ISE. In this case, it is 172.77.77.0/24. The ports will be all port. We enable this interface on the external interface. Let's click it finish. Next, we'll create another IP forwarding outbound rule. Virtual server is outbound to virtual server for IP. As outbound, the source will be internal network. Destination will be all. We'll enable this virtual server on the server side of the interface. Click it finish. So for now, go back to the controller. We'll have a controller for the community. That's for everything, and it's read only. Back to the F5, we'll do is to add a monitor. The monitor name will be Radius 1812 because the Radius port is UDP 1812. For type, we'll choose Radius. Check advanced. In here, username is F5-probe. Type in the password and secret. Remember, the password is for the user F5 probe. The secret is a reader secret that you will configure on the Cisco ISE. For the NAS IP, type in the internal IP. And the last, remember the ports 1812. Click finish. For the next step, we'll go ahead and create a node, which is our ISE nodes, PSN nodes in this case. Now we have created two nodes with house monitor ICMP. Good, and now for now, we'll create our pool. The first pool will be Radius Authentication Pool. We use Radius House Monitor 1812. We don't allow SNET, sorry. Action on service down will reselect. Go ahead. Under resources, load balancing methods, we use least connections for node. We'll add on node. The ports will be 1812. Add. Second node. Add. Click finish. The pool is active now. And we'll create second pool. The pool is for accounting. Also, we choose Health Monitor Radius 1812. We don't allow SNET. Action on service down will use reselect. Similarly, for load balancing, we'll use least connection nodes. The port will be 1813. Click Finished. Now we'll find out two of our pools have become active. If you go to ISE, we'll find out there are lots of live logs for the success message from F5 with F5 probe. We don't want to see all these logs, so we'll head to logging setting. Under collection filters, we'll add username F5 probe. We'll filter our past messages. Good. Go back to our 5. We'll create our first iRule for persistence. iRule name radius mac sticky. Go ahead, paste the sticky iRule. Click Finish. Next, we'll go ahead and create a UDP profile for ISE radius. It will be UDP and we'll create the name is ISE radius UDP. Check custom and click Finish. We'll create then a radius profile. The service is radius. Click Create. The parent profile is radius LB. The name will be ISE radius LB. Check custom. Under persistent attribute, type 31. Check finished. Also next, we'll create a persistent profile for radius sticky. Name will be radius sticky. Under universal. Here, we'll enable match cross services. Timeouts will be 3600 seconds, which is for wireless. Choose our radius mac sticky iRule. Click it finished. For now, we have created a UDP profile, radius profile, persistent profile, and an iRule widget. Now we're able to create our virtual server. The first virtual server will be ISE radius authentication. It will be standard virtual server. Source will be from everywhere. Typing our external IP, the port 1812. Of course, it will be UDP. Profile for clients will be ISE radius UDP. Scroll down. Make sure under source address translation, we use none. We'll enable this virtual server on our external interface. Scroll to the last. Default pool will use authentication pool. Default persistent profile will use radius sticky. For fallback persistent profile, we use source address. Click Finished. Next, we'll create ISE radius accounting virtual server. Create. This time, name ISE radius account. Similarly, the source will run everywhere. Destination is our external interface. 1813. Profile will be UDP, radius UDP. Radius profile to choose radius ISE radius LB. We enable on our external interface. Default pool, accounting pool. Default persistent rule radius sticky, fallback with the source address. Click Finished. Okay, switch it to our controller. Under Security, for authentication, we'll create an radius server. The IP will be the internal IP, external IP of the LTM. Type in the secret, uncheck management, enable support for COA. The next, we'll create a accounting radius server. Type in the external interface of F5. Also uncheck management. Go to our test SSID. Under Security, select Accounting and Authentication Server. Under Advanced, make sure under NAC, choose ISE NAC. Click Apply. And now we can test our wireless connection. It is successfully connected. Under Logging, we can find the successful logging from our test PC. This is the endpoint. If we re-authenticate the session, let's see if it's gonna make an impact on the user side. No, it does not work for COA. Okay, now we'll make it work for COA. What we'll do is create SNAT pool. The SNAT pool is called Readers COA SNAT pool. The IP will be external IP on LTM. And we'll create a virtual server for COA. Radius COA SNAT. It will be IP forwarding from source internal network to everywhere. COA ports 1700. UDP will enable it on the internal server port. This time we will enable SNAT. SNAT pool will be COA SNAT pool. Great, that's it. Click finish. So now let's test if it's gonna reconnect using COA for live session. Session reauthentication. Yes, the client reauthentication is succeed. Have a complete two virtual server for accounting and authentication. We're now going to create a few profiles for the profiling. The first profiling we'll do is we'll create a UDP profile. Create ISE profiling UDP. Check a custom and make idle timeout immediate. Disable Telegram load balance. Click finish. Next, we'll create another iRule for DHCP MAC address stick. The iRule name is DHCP MAC sticky. Paste that rule, click finish. Now we have an iRule and UDP profile. We'll go ahead and create a persistent profile. The persistent profile name DHCP sticky. Under universal, check custom, enable match cross services, choose our iRule. Subscribe the timeout to 3600 for wireless. Check finished. Alright, then next we'll make a pool. The pool name is profiling DHCP pool. This is for PSN pool DHCP profiling. Similarly to the last few pools, we'll use radius on port 1812 on monitors. Service down, use reselect. This time we're fine for round robin. Port that DHCP port UDP 67. Check finished. Okay, let's make virtual server for the last ISE profiling DHCP. Is ISE PSN DHCP profiling. It is standard from everywhere to our external IP port 67. That'll be UDP profiling, ISE profiling UDP. We will enable this virtual server on our external interface. The resource, default pool, DHCP pool, persistent, persistence, DHCP sticky. That's it. Now we create our DHCP profiling virtual server. We have also going to create a pool. The pool's name is profiling SNMP trap. We're also going to use radius for health monitor. Action reselect. On servers down, that's going to be reselect. Choose our node. The port's 132. Add. Okay, finished. Now we have profiling SNMP trap pool. This time we're missing one persistent profile for SNMP trap. Actually, it's not for SNMP traps, for profiling source address. It's going to be used for fallback, persistent, check everything. Timeout 3600. Now we're going to create our virtual server. Virtual server name is going to be ISE profiling SNMP trap. This is also going to be from everywhere to our external interface. 162. Also UDP. Choose a UDP profile. And so we're going to enable it on external interface. Go ahead, choose the pool SNMP trap. Default persistent, use source address. Good, finished. Move to our controller. Our SNMP trap receiver is going to be our external interface. Status is enabled. Okay, that's all we're going to do for ISE load balancing on F5.